Burnout, stress, and pressure. There are days you just feel drained. Not physically, but mentally. You're tired, but you still have things to do. You're stressed, but you can't slow down. You feel overwhelmed, but you keep going anyway. And no one really talks about that part. So today we're going to talk about burnout and specifically how I deal with burnout, and I'll try to give you guys some advice to help me deal with the burnout and hopefully can help you guys out. So let's get started. As you guys all know, I am a student who is trying to balance school, work, commute in general, relationships, and life in general. And with all that comes with a lot of pressure. Pressure to stay consistent, pressure to perform, to do your best, and pressure not to fall behind. As many of you know, if you are in the same position as me, you can relate to this. It's a lot of pressure, and it's not easy. It weighs heavy on one's shoulder, and that's all I think about every day is just the pressure of what I have to deal with and making sure I do everything good. So I will tell you guys how I deal with all this pressure and all this burnout to the best of my ability. Burnout isn't always obvious. It's not the first thing that comes to mind. It's not always a breakdown. Sometimes it's just feeling unmotivated, feeling tired all the time, not enjoying things the same way you used to, and just going through the motions. You're still doing everything, but it just feels so much heavier. It feels way more difficult. And that's something I think a lot of students experience, especially when balancing multiple responsibilities. I assume you all understand some sort of burnt out. I believe all of you have experienced a sort of burnout once in your lives, whether it was for work, school, gym, whatever it is. I believe you all have experienced the feeling of burnt out, and as you all know, it's not an easy feeling to deal with, especially when you have so much on your plate already. You know you have so much to do. You know that the time does not stop for nobody and that you just have to get it done. But you're just burnt out. You don't have the motivation. You don't have the willingness to actually go and do what you have to do. Burnout for me has been my number one enemy. I feel like I get burnt out very easily, especially with this heavy schedule of mine, trying to make sure that I'm doing everything correctly and just making sure I do everything, because doing everything for me on my plate is it's already kind of hard as it is for me, just trying to get it done, but not only get it done, but getting it done to the best of my ability for each and every little thing I do in life. It can easily cause burnout for me, and I do easily get burnt out. For me, it's so hard to get back on track after being burnt out. It's really difficult, and sometimes it's really hard for me to bounce back from a burnt out, but what I will say is it does get easier as time goes on to bounce back from a burnout. It gets easier to realize when you're burnt out, and it just becomes easier to push through that burnout just because you've done it for so long, and you already get accustomed to the drill of when you feel burnt out and what you still have to do. Where does the pressure come from? A lot of pressure doesn't just come from your schedule, from what you have to do. It can come from many things. It can come from expectations, your own expectations and expectations of others. Another thing is comparison. when you compare yourself to how other students are doing, just how other people your age are doing, what they're up to, and how successful they are, or how not successful they are. Another thing pressure comes from is wanting to succeed. That alone is so much pressure, just because it's not easy to succeed. Not everyone succeeds. And the last thing that pressure comes from for me is feeling like you need to keep up and just not falling behind. You look around and you think everyone else seems fine, but what you don't see is what people are dealing with behind the scenes. And that comparison makes things worse. All the expectations that I've come across, all the comparisons I've done between me and others, it's a lot of pressure. I used to, and I still do at times, compare myself to my siblings, knowing that, you know, especially since I'm the youngest, I've always felt like my expectations were higher since I have, I guess what you can say, people to look up to and people who are on similar path as me, someone, people who can guide me to where I want to be. So I feel like my expectations because of that are much higher, knowing I have much more help than when my siblings were in my position right now. So I've always felt like I've had one of the highest expectations for myself, knowing that I have all this, so I need to do good. There's kind of just no excuse for me not to do good. So those would be my expectations. And then when I compare myself, I compare myself to how my siblings were in my position, what they were doing, how they were doing it, all those other things. And I also compare myself to just other classmates. I see that a lot of them are almost in the same position as me, and I see how well they're doing, how well they're not doing. And comparison, I would say, is the killer, because will never always be on the same track as somebody else. Someone might be doing better, someone might be doing worse, but there's no real, I guess you can say, on track. There's no real on track aspect, because everybody just has their own path. Everybody does things differently. So I would say comparison is probably the worst one that comes out of pressure, because it's just, I've always felt like comparison is so dumb, but I just can't help myself to do it at times. I need to make sure that I feel like I am, if not on the level, above the level of everybody else around me. Trying to do everything. One of the biggest causes of burnout is trying to do everything at once. Be a student, work, stay fit, have a social life, maintain your relationship, build your future. It all adds up. And at some point, something has to give, because you can't operate 100% of the time. It was my biggest failure at the beginning, trying to do everything at once. I would try to incorporate at least one of these activities into my daily life, and I figured that it made things worse. It made things much, much worse for me to concentrate on just one single task when I'm trying to do everything, because all that would play in my mind is, okay, I've done this, so I have to do this, but then I have this, but then I have this. It's always adding up. And that's what caused the burnout for me. It just I could not do everything at once. And I guess once I realized that I couldn't do everything at once, I started to really set my schedule into something that I can physically do on a weekly basis. Have time to be a good student, have time to work, have time to hit the gym and stay fit, have time for social life, planning hangouts, and just building my future, some alone time, just really thinking to myself what I see in the future for myself. I'm still figuring this out, but what so far has helped me with all the pressure and burnout is just a few things that honestly has helped me a lot. One is taking small breaks without feeling guilty. Taking a break here and there is not bad at all. Everyone needs a break. Everyone. From the amount of work that you're doing, from just everything, the mental, physical stuff, everybody just needs a break. So taking small breaks, I try to go no further than maybe like 5 to 10 minutes of a break, depending on how much work I've been doing. I can go up to 30 minutes, depending if I'm doing like a lot of work. But just taking small breaks without feeling guilty, whatever you think is enough for you. Another thing that's helped me is accepting that not every day will be productive. There's going to be days where, you just want to take a break from everything, and that's perfectly fine. Or there's just some days that it just can't be a productive day. You have family matter, you have other things going on, and it can't be as productive as you'd like it to be. And accepting that is gonna go a long way. There's been many days where I couldn't be productive because stuff has come up and I had to attend stuff or I had to go do other things. So it was hard to do them, but accepting that not every day is gonna be productive will go a long way. Another thing that's helped me is focusing on consistency instead of perfection. I focused on mostly, like I said before, just getting things done mostly because I already have so much, and I'm assuming you guys have a lot on your plates as well. So getting it done and at a consistent rate is really key, because then at least you're building that discipline of making sure you get that done. And of course, it won't always be perfect. You have other things to worry about, and you can't put too much time onto one assignment, making sure it's perfect. So once you understand that the focus should be on consistency instead of perfection, it will go much further in your journey of trying not to be as burnt out as much or trying to deal with so much pressure. And the last thing I would say is being honest with yourself when you need to rest or reset. It's understandable for you to not want to take a break, not wanting to mentally reset just so you can focus on something new. But you just have to be honest with yourself. If you know it's too much and you're pushing through too much, then just take a break. Just take a break. It doesn't take long. It shouldn't take long. But take that reset and it will also go a long way. Because sometimes the best thing you can do is slow down for a moment. Slow down, regroup, rethink, and just start going back on track. If you want to keep your long-term goal in the same direction you want it to go, you need to find balance. It doesn't have to be perfect balance, but something sustainable, something that can be sustainable for you. Because this isn't just about getting through 1 week, through that 1 week. This is about building a life you can maintain. This is about something you are going to use for the rest of your life. If you've ever been feeling overwhelmed or burnt out, send this to someone who might need it as well. Make sure to follow the podcast. Next episode, we're going to talk about productivity systems that actually work and how it's helped me with my scheduling, with my busyness, all that. And if you're going through all the motions right now, just know that you're not the only one. And I'm pretty sure most of everyone here is not in it alone as well. So I hope to see you guys in the next one. Thanks.